Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Restring Sunday. It's the series where I take a guitar, I restring it, talk a little bit about it, and play it. And today we've got a guitar that is probably the closest that Jackson guitars ever got to making a Les Paul, at least spec-wise. This is the signature guitar of Mark Morton from Lamb of God. And for those that don't know, that surprises a lot of people because it really doesn't look like a Lamb of God type guitar. From what I remember hearing, this guitar was designed to be not genre specific. You could play Lamb of God stuff on this, but you could also play jazz if you wanted to. And the specs reflect that, but before we get there, let's talk about how I got this guitar. There was and still is a guitar shop in Dublin city centre called Music Maker. Now, one of the things that Music Maker was well known for, they used to have a big sale. And while the majority of the sales that guitar shops or shops in general have are normally sometime in January after Christmas, they were doing it before Christmas. And if I remember correctly, they said it was something to do with NAMM being in January. So they'd sell their stock off before NAMM and they'd free up enough money to go over and place bigger orders for new stock. And these sales were a big deal. Like, people used to camp out for them. That's the type of deals that you would get. The year was like 2014 or something, and I entered into a Facebook competition that Music Maker were having to get into the shop the night before the sale, where no one else was there, and play whatever you wanted. And then the next morning, you were allowed to be the second person in the store. It was actually a really cool prize, and luckily, I won the Facebook competition. So I went in the night before and there were guys camping out the front, but I got to play really whatever I wanted, and they were one of, if not the only Jackson dealer in the country at the time. So I got to play some really cool Jacksons, and they had all the made in Japan Jacksons, just like this one. And this one stood out to me. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed playing it. So much so that I was ready to buy it the next day. And I had a backup guitar that I wanted to get if this one had sold already. It was a Jackson RR24 in gold with the black pinstripes. Now, I have a Jackson RR24 now, but I didn't at the time. There's a Restring Sunday there on it. But anyway, I decided that this was the guitar I was gonna get. So the next morning, I showed up to the really long queue to get in for the sale. And the staff are really nice. They just kind of put me up the front, and I remember there was a guy in the queue. Are you skipping the queue? No. But while I was technically skipping the queue, I was doing it with permission. I had won the skip. I had won early access. But I went in, the place got full very quickly, and I walked away with this guitar. But what is it exactly? Well, it's one of the earliest Jackson Dominions. This was made in 2006 in the Japanese factory. The Jackson Dominion lasted a fairly long time. It went from 2006 all the way up till, I think, 2020, 2021. It is no longer in the range, but it lasted a decent amount of time in Jackson's catalogue. So this is very much like a Les Paul spec-wise, even though it looks pretty much nothing like a Les Paul. Now, unlike the vast majority of Jackson guitars, this has a 24 3/4 inch scale length. That's the Gibson standard scale length, as opposed to the usual Jackson scale length, which is 25.5 inches. Now, like the majority of Jacksons, this is a neck-through guitar, but it's a mahogany neck opposed to the usual maple, with an ebony fretboard, and surprisingly, it's got 22 very skinny frets. The reason that that's surprising is that Jackson are known for having jumbo frets, and these are anything but. It's also got these very striking and prominent block inlays. They're a mixture of mother of pearl with abalone in the center, and while I'm not a massive fan of them, they are very striking and do stand out quite a bit on this guitar. And because it's got the mahogany neck, the mahogany body, the ebony fretboard, and it's even got a maple top, and it's a thick enough maple top, you'd expect that to be heavy, but this guitar is really not, because it's chambered. You can hear where it's solid into where it's chambered. So it's kind of like a more modern weight-relieved Les Paul, and it sort of sounds like that too. It's got a more rounder sound. Okay, no different from the ordinary. Today we're doing the standard D'Addario 10 to 46. We're doing it in the bulk pack. That's got the it's got the snake in it, the tube thing. And we got the player circle code to give away. This one was also given away by a viewer. I'm loving this wholesome thing that we've got going where people are giving away player circle codes to each other. So here it is. Thank you very much to our kind donor. Now, one thing that's actually very difficult to show on this guitar is the color of it. It changes with any bit of light. It's kind of cool in that way, but you can see the quilt maple top sometimes, you can't on other times, and it is a very nice maple top. Another thing it doesn't have is side binding or painted off binding. The later revisions all did, and this one doesn't. And also, it's got a painted back of the neck. Pretty much all the other Dominions had an oiled neck. So this one really does feel a lot more Gibson-y than the others. Now for years, this was the closest that Jackson got to a Les Paul. Now with Marty Friedman, they've come out with a single cut that looks very much like a Les Paul, but it doesn't actually have the same specs as this. And I think this is still closer to the classic single cut design, even though the body shape is completely different. This guitar is sort of designed to be a classic guitar, but still with those modern appointments, and it's a nice mix between Jackson Shredder's guitar. The neck is super thin and the fret access is fantastic with that neck through, but it doesn't look like it. So the guys who want that extra playability and spec, but not the complete shredder guitar look, this sort of ticks those boxes. You've got the classic tune-o-matic and tailpiece, you've got the 2 volumes, 2 tones, and actually one of my favorite parts about this guitar is the switching system, because we've got these little mini toggles that allow us to switch the pickups to single coils, and combined with the 3-way switch, you've got a lot of different tonal options there, and it can sound pretty cool. Pickup wise, we've kind of got the standard, most versatile set of Seymour Duncans you can get. It's the JB in the bridge with the jazz in the neck, so you can play anything from jazz all the way up to extreme metal. This model didn't have Seymour Duncans for long. They changed over to DiMarzios and then Mark Morton's signature DiMarzios. So this is kind of more of a standard guitar than a signature guitar in this setup. So this is the Jackson Dominion, and in my view, this is as close as Jackson ever got to making a Les Paul, at least spec-wise. It's got the mahogany body, the mahogany neck, the ebony fretboard, the block inlays, the maple top. It is chambered, so it's not your classic Les Paul, but you know, when compared to the more modern Gibsons, this is somewhat similar. So that's just a quick video on the 2006 made in Japan Jackson Dominion. Thank you for watching. If you like these Restring Sundays, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new ones. You can catch the other ones in the playlist here, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time, hopefully, maybe. Bye bye.